Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is the CEO and co-founder of HD Muscle and Pure Muscle and Fitness. Today's guest is Noah Hamilton. Noah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
For sure. So Noah, I like to start each podcast off by asking all of my guests a couple of questions. The first question I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Oh man, well, obviously I have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. That's sort of the guy who sort of got me like thinking about training, and obviously the physique he had was amazing. So, and then obviously how successful he was with all the movies and stuff like that. So that was definitely the spark of it. And then from there, I think like the next guy would definitely be Ronnie Coleman, when he sort of like made a splash in the industry there. That was the guy that really got my attention there. And I would say Jay Cutler, just because all rounded, that guy's like an amazing athlete, and then business guy, and he's got great charisma and everyone loves him. So yeah, those would definitely be the top three, I would say.
Awesome, man. So the second question I like to ask all my guests, just to kind of kickstart the conversation: at what age did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I started pretty early, actually. Like I was probably in grade 7. So whatever age that is, I think that's like probably 13 or 14. I was a competitive hockey player, and my dream as a kid was to play in the NHL. So yeah, and the reason why I got into weightlifting is, I hung out with a few older guys that were training, and they're, obviously jacked for whatever 14-year-old jacked is. But so I started getting into that. My dad got us great equipment, more than just the typical bar and a couple of dumbbells and stuff like that. It was actually a pretty legit set of equipment: pull downs, bench press, dips, preacher bar curl, low row. It was a pretty good system, right? So right from grade 7, I was actually training pretty decently. So yeah, it was basically for hockey. So I just wanted to be a strong competitive hockey player.
Excellent, man. So talk to me a little bit more, Noah, about your childhood. You said hockey. I'm assuming you're talking from Canada right now. You're in Canada. I'm assuming you grew up in Canada. You said hockey, but just talk about maybe your parents. Talk about obviously Dorian, your brother, your family.
Yeah.
Any other sports that you were involved with up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, so I would say, I always played hockey. It was pretty much from 5 years old, super competitive with that. That's, every sort of Canadian boy, that's the thing you sort of got into. Got into weightlifting, obviously, because I wanted to be better at hockey. My brother is 4 years younger. So basically, he sort of it's crazy. I was so always into training, and my younger brother was, I guess, sort of looking up to me, obviously 4 years younger. And yeah, it's funny. He always wanted to, I guess when he was probably in grade 7 or grade 8, I went to grade 9, and I was sort of I was a pretty sort of muscular kid for being in grade 9. So I was sort of set there. It was pretty cool. I had some good confidence because I'd been training a few years, and even supplements. I remember my my aunt, she was diabetic, and I remember actually the same time I was lifting weights, she got me my first glutamine, my first creatine monohydrate, and first protein, which the protein was obviously awful, but I remember taking this stuff pretty religiously. So that was pretty cool. I was taking supplements and working out from a long time ago, which is pretty nice. But I went into high school, was training, was competitive hockey. And my brother was he was sort of a chubbier kid growing up. And I remember he had some sort of stomach issues growing up as well. And he started cooking his own food at a young age too, which I was wow, that's crazy. I think grade 6 or 7, he was making eggs and things like this, not typical for kids at that age. And he was trying to figure out what was working for his body, because he would have stomach issues. So it's finding, hey, what foods are good for me, what foods are bad. And then he started wanting to work out as well. And I still sort of remember vaguely that sort of happening, and we'd be oh no, you can't really work out, because I remember hearing a stunts your growth or whatever. So it was just do pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups. all those type of movements, right? And he started doing that stuff like religiously. So it's pretty cool. I started seeing him like, you know, grade 7 and grade 8, going to grade 9, like transforming his body into like a sort of chubbier kid, into like a sort of a leaner, muscular kid. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. It was like pretty cool. And then we actually started training together as well. So like the YMCA days, you know, it was pretty cool. Like my brother's very sort of competitive. So it's pretty cool to sort of see him like the same training style he has now is when he was a kid, he was doing the same thing. You know, so like, you know, methodical and like so like aggressive with his training and concentrated. So it's like, it's pretty cool to sort of see like, you know, how far Dorian's come and actually been there from day one with him. And he's actually made me like more competitive as well, because I'm like, oh, this is like, you know, it's my younger brother. And, you know, it's been pretty cool. So that was like high school. We trained a lot together at their local YMCA. And then after high school, I actually got a D3 scholarship at Fredonia State playing hockey. And then that was sort of like a little bit of a split there. Dorian continued to obviously keep on training. Yeah, so that's sort of the high school thing there. And then obviously I went to university, played hockey. And then, yeah, that's the up until then.
So talk to me a little bit about maybe like your parents or the adults in your life when you were younger. Did they have a pretty big influence on you?
Yeah, my parents are, you know, obviously very, very supportive and very, very proud. Always been, you know, spoiled us, you know, and been like, you know, they're pretty much our foundation, you know, with my sister, my brother, anything that we wanted to do or, you know, anything we wanted, they've always been there for us. You know, my mom's a very strong Christian, so she's implemented those morals into our lives as much as possible. And my dad's just a super proud, supportive dad, and that's great parents. So that really has allowed that sort of foundation for us to, you know, give us confidence to keep on excelling in life, you know, which is we're very fortunate and very blessed to have. So, yeah.
For sure. So one more question just about childhood, and then we'll move on, talk about college and things like that. But academics, was that something that you took pretty serious when you're younger, or not really?
Not really. No, academics wasn't really my strong suit. I feel like I liked being more like the social guy. You know, I was really good with like, you know, making friends and, you know, just like sort of networking, and school was never really my thing. You know, I was obviously into sports, so that was like the thing I was really passionate about. But when I would go to school, it basically just more social.
For sure. Makes sense. I think that was the way it was for a lot of us, right? So
Yeah.
you said you got a D3 scholarship to play hockey in college. Talk about that opportunity. Talk about college. What did you study? You said earlier that you had this dream to be an NHL, you know, hockey athlete. At what point did you realize that wasn't going to happen? And then just talk about after you graduated and finished with college, where did life take you?
Yeah. So basically, I went to college not to study, but to play hockey. And unfortunately or fortunately, I was only there for 2 years. It was just like, I was just finding, you know, the hockey was great. It was super competitive. I loved the whole camaraderie. I loved the traveling, all that stuff. But the schooling thing for me was just not like, it wasn't having it. So lasted 2 years. I'd done a little bit of like, you know, tryouts with like semi-pro teams and some just going over and skating with a couple teams in Europe. And that definitely could have been like the next sort of phase or next chapter in my life. But the cool thing was actually, you know, one summer I came back, I guess basically like when I was done, I don't know if it was the summer before I was done or the summer that I was done, but Dorian was getting ready for like a Muscle Mania show, like I guess it was like a junior Muscle Mania show, natural show. And it really sparked my interest because I like, you know, he went from like, you know, being a guy in the gym, you know, putting on some muscle to like sort of, you know, doing some sort of obviously pre-contest prep and getting ready for show. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. My younger brother looks pretty dope, right? So I was like, oh wow, it was like sort of like sparked my interest to be like, maybe like, you know, maybe the hockey thing is sort of like, you know, I'm gonna hang up the skates type thing and like maybe get into the bodybuilding fitness world. And that's sort of like where it turned. So basically he did that Muscle Mania show. And then I believe my memory's not amazing. My brother's got incredible memory, but I'm sort of like vaguely sort of piecing it together. But I remember we started working together at a local supplement store, which was the manager was a friend of mine that I used to bounce with at a local bar. And Dorian was actually co-oping at this supplement store. So it was almost natural fit that I started working there as well. We started training together. Yeah, and then we ended up deciding to do a show together. This was back in 2006. We did it actually like completely natural. It was actually like an open show type thing, just a level 1 here in Ontario. We ended up doing that show, and he played. There was like maybe 15 guys. We placed pretty decent. Dorian was 6th, I was 7th. I was a little devastated by that one, but yeah, that sort of like sparked the whole bodybuilding thing for me. And then we were working at the supplement store, and it was funny because like we've always been into supplements like from like forever. And I was like telling Dorian, I was like, dude, I think we can do this ourselves. Like, because we're there every day. We're sort of managing. We're dealing with all the sales reps, we're dealing with all the customers, and like we started like, cleaning up the inventory because the manager really didn't have a passion for it, nor the owner. And we're just like, yo, this is like, we can definitely do this ourselves. And then that sort of sparked us looking for places to actually like, hey, maybe we'll open up our own supplement store. And the funny thing is, things always happen for reasons, and everything sort of, I believe in destiny and whatnot. But around the same time we're thinking about this, looking for places, the landlord came in and was like looking for the tenants because their lease was up and they were also owing, for X amount of months and yada, yada, yada. And that led to me basically saying to the guy, hey, listen, my brother and I are looking for a space, please keep us in mind if you're looking for someone to take over. And that ended up turning us actually, taking over the space. And then in 2007 fall, we opened up our Pure Nutrition. So that sort of sparked the whole supplement business game.
Excellent, man. So I want to talk, before we kind of get into all things business, I want to ask you about your own bodybuilding, your own competing. What kind of sparked you or pulled you into bodybuilding? Was it seeing your body change? Was it, did you enjoy the process of prep? For you personally, Noah, what is that in terms of bodybuilding?
That's a tough question. I'm finding more than ever now, I'm actually coming into my own of really like passionately loving bodybuilding. I think it's probably because of like me understanding it more, being around like so many competitive athletes here at the gym, where I'm like, wow, I'm really taking a like to it. Years before then, I think I was doing it like, so back in like, we're probably going 2007, 2009, 2011, 14, a couple of shows all through that time. I think I was doing it because, I trained at the gym and it was almost like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do if you want to like sort of like take it to the next level type thing. So I don't know if I was like super, super passionate about it. And I definitely wasn't super passionate about it because, even my pre-contest preps weren't like super like dialed in and I wasn't super strict and like, so yeah, I would say now more than ever, I'm actually like getting this like sort of like fire inside me to be like, wow, okay, like I'm a little bit older too. Like I'm young, but obviously older in like say the bodybuilding game. But now I'm like sort of getting this little bit of fire to be like, hey, maybe I should like really put 100% into it since like I'm in the best possible place you could ever want to be to bodybuild.
For sure. So a question, because I've noticed on your Instagram, you're definitely getting after it, man. So do you have any plans to step on stage anytime soon, or are you just doing it for the love of it?
I would like to do something because I got in like pretty good shape here over the last like 3 or 4 months. It was a challenge for me, like almost like a phase 1 to sort of see, hey, can I get in like shape with, especially with all the moving parts that are going on with the companies and the business and stuff like that. So I was able to sort of balance my life out pretty good with like food and obviously training and work. So that was like a phase one I just did there. So I definitely feel that I would like to do something, 6 to 9 months from now. So it's definitely a challenge for me, but I'm ready for it. So yeah, I'm like pretty excited.
Cool, man. No, that'll be awesome for everybody to kind of follow along that. Now, before we talk about getting into the business stuff, you mentioned bouncing. Do you have a good bouncing story to share with anybody or all of us?
The one that like sort of comes to mind is like, it's I don't know if it's funny or sad or whatever, but I remember like there was a guy that was like, he was being a little bit of like, obviously you're drunk and you're trying to be like a tough guy or whatnot. And like, I remember like him like grabbing me from behind and, me sort of like push, like just sort of a little knock and like me hitting his head and splitting and gashing it. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, so bad. And his girlfriend's like, flipping on me. And I really didn't mean to do anything to the guy, but it was just sort of a fluke where like how I pushed him and, maybe being whatever, a little bit stronger than I was expecting and him falling back and smoking his head. And I really felt bad. And like, the crazy thing is because it's a local place too. And, I would see him at the gym and stuff like that. And a couple of years later, I was like, because I'd see him, I was like, oh, I felt so awkward. You know what I mean? Like, because his girlfriend was flipping out, he was flipping out. But it was sort of a nice sort of twist that, years later, I sort of went to him and I apologized. And, it was like, yeah, now we sort of, see each other from time to time at the grocery store and whatnot. And so it just, yeah, it was one of those ones where I was like, oh man, I feel bad that I hurt the guy because whatever. But like, he was cool with it now and he understood that he was drunk and whatnot. And it's still nice to see him in the community, whatever, at the gym or the grocery store. I'm like, hey man, what's up? And it's cool. So
no, that is cool, man. That kind of that's a cool little twist. A good ending with that story. So, okay. So 2007, you and Dorian opened up your own supplement store. Talk about then from that point, the evolution of just entrepreneurship business to kind of where you guys are at today, as much as you can kind of piece that together.
Yeah. So we basically, we opened up the store in 2007. It was rocking right from the beginning because there was already the customers that knew there was a location there. And then us, my brother and I being out in the community at the gyms, hustling and bustling and meeting people and bringing more people in. So like right off the hop, it was like very successful. So it was myself, Dorian and Dorian's wife, but girlfriend at the time, Rachel. And it was like such a great time because we're all young, Dorian and Rachel were, I think 18 at the time. I was 22. So we're like, this is cool. And like, we're rocking and rolling, like being fairly successful, right, with the retail store. And I sort of like got like, whoa, this is crazy. Well, maybe we can double down or triple down or, so we ended up like moving a little too quickly with things. And we ended up opening up 3 stores in a shorter period of time, one in Hamilton and one closer to Oakville, all within, driving distance. Sorry, did I lose you there?
Yeah, you're good. Keep going.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah. So we had that. Definitely a lot of things to learn when you're bringing in employees and like, supply and inventory. So it was like definitely very challenging, but yeah, it was very enjoyable. Like I definitely reminisce about a lot of like, great times doing that and building the business. And with that too, now, because you have supplement stores, you're able to meet a lot of people in the industry as well. We're doing bodybuilding shows. So it was definitely a nice sort of introduction to like, meeting people in the industry. The sales reps are coming in, they see the sales rep at the shows or the expos and things like this. So it was sort of a nice sort of way for us to get to, maybe meet more people in the industry. Yeah, so that basically went on from 2007 to about 2012 or 13. So we were running those, managing those. A lot of even our good friends now, like Cody Amy, who's like, pretty much like one of our brothers. He was, Dorian and him were friends. He was one of our team staff members, like from way back when. So he's been around for a long time, pretty much a brother of ours. But yeah, so we've had, it's been great. So that was up until about 2012, 2013. Dorian was actually getting into, he was competing a little bit more, and also he was getting into a little bit of coaching as well. And I think our time of like retail was like, it's tough, right? You know, it's like a lot of work, it's a lot of grind, you know. So around that time, we had an opportunity to sort of to sell the stores to Popeyes, which is a big major retail chain here in Canada, and that sort of was a new chapter for myself, where I actually ended up moving to like London, UK, and like sort of like exploring a whole new world. And then that led to Dorian sort of, you know, having more time and sort of energy to sort of get into the whole coaching thing, which that was around 2012, 2013, I believe.
So talk to me. I'm this is great, man. This is why I love the podcast, because we see everything on social media, right? We see all the you know, the success, and we see the cars, and we see everything, right? But this is, we're getting behind the muscle, right? We're getting behind Noah. So talk to me about going to London, and what was that like? Because I mean, you were still, and like you said, you still are, I still am, we're in our 30s, we're still very young, but at that point, was that kind of like soul searching for you? Was it you kind of finding out who
for
you
sure
are? Talk about that then.
Yeah, I think it was just like, because all my, like, you know, I'd always, obviously I was playing competitive hockey, you know, and then like after competitive hockey, I got into like really just like dive deep, like at 22 years old, got into like business, you know. So like all my 20s was like a hustle and bustle, you know, a grind, you know. And I don't think I ever had like that sort of like, you know, a little bit in college there, a little bit of like, you know, letting loose and whatever. But I really think I was just so busy on business that I really didn't get to explore myself maybe a little bit more get to know myself more in my 20s. So I feel like at 29 there, that was like sort of my 19, you know. So I was like, you know, I'm definitely like ahead of the game in some things, and then some things in life you're a little bit behind, you know. So I was from basically 29 there. I moved to 29, 30, moved to London, and like basically, you know, I was always doing like a little bit of online training. I was doing a little bit of personal training, and then I actually got into more nightlife stuff, because it was the big city there. I was living central London, meeting a lot of interesting, cool people, like basically a whole new world, right? So an exciting time, you know, getting in a little bit of trouble here and there. So yeah, and that's when I pretty much got into like DJing was something I always wanted to do, like basically before I even went to university. So it was like one of those little dreams that I had. It was like, oh man, it'd be cool to be a DJ, right? Just one of those things, right? So I ended up going to a school there and learning how to DJ. So that was my sort of like, yeah, it was pretty cool that I got to accomplish that. And then that led into me like moving to Spain, and then, you know, getting into the whole nightlife industry, and like it was pretty crazy. It's pretty much the opposite of what I'm in right now. But it was pretty cool because I was able to travel a lot and DJ a lot and meet a lot of people. So it was definitely a very, very cool experience. And that I did that for a couple years, and that sort of led to like, I was finding that I was maybe 32, 33. I was like, okay, I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, that was fun, but like now it's probably time to, you know, think about my future. And then that's what led to pretty much the gym and HD. Obviously, Dorian has a huge passion for both those things, as do I, but Dorian's like on another level of passion for it. So basically, I was living in Spain at the time. I was in Madrid, and there was like a little bit of chatter. Like I always, you know, back and forth, and there was a little bit of chatter. Dorian wanted to open up a gym, and there's a few people that wanted to open with him, and I was like, oh man, I was like a little bit bummed. I was like, I should be doing it with them, you know, just because we've always done like sort of like, we've always had like some things that we've done, like whether we're cutting grass together, or, you know, obviously the business with the retail stores, or just, we've always done little projects together. So I was, you know, obviously like I was a little bummed out about that, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to like maybe like one up that a little bit. And like I had a lot of time on my hands there too. And I remember messaging Cody, this will be 4 years. This May coming up, it'll be 4 years when I messaged Cody, and I was like, hey, can you ask Dorian, like, you know, if he wanted to take a pre-workout, what like ingredients would he like in it? You know, so Cody ends up talking to Dorian while they're training and say, what? So Cody texts me like, oh, you want, he would like this. So I went and like, we have a designer already. And then I found a few manufacturers do small runs. And I was able to turn over like a pre-workout, like within like probably, 4 to 6 weeks. And around his birthday there, I sent like 100 bottles of the first like pre-workout, it was pre-HD. And there's like 50 like raspberry lemonade, 50 fruit punch, real basic, obviously flavors. But that was the spark to be like, hey, this is like, it was a gift, and that was like sort of like something like, bring a thought into, reality and be like, hey, this is possible, So yeah.
Okay. So before we go further with that, I want to take a step back because while I was kind of just going through your Instagram and prepping a little bit for our conversation, I saw there's a link in your bio to DJ Noah, and there's some beats. So I want you to share that a little bit more, because that seems like that is something, maybe just a little passion project on the side. So where did that initial spark come from when you were younger in terms of DJing, and what does music and DJing do for you personally, Noah?
Oh, well, I mean, one of my first memories, like obviously, is like actually a music memory of like listening to music. So like I remember like being 3 years old and listening to I don't know if you remember the song "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" by Wham.
Yep.
So this is just like, I was 3 years old, and that it made me feel good, So like music, obviously, there's the frequency to it that just makes you feel good. So yeah, that was basically why I got into it. I remember going out to like, obviously clubs and stuff like that in Toronto, and just like the energy that like a DJ brings, and you see them up there and they're so excited and happy, and like obviously the beats that they're sending out, and they're just like, it's a good vibe. And I really like those feelings. And that's pretty much what sparked me into wanting to do that. Right. It's just like, you can sort of manipulate, how people are feeling, and it's like, you have a little like sort of like part into like their feelings a bit. So yeah, that's what sort of got me into it.
So is that something that you kind of just continue to do on the side, or just when you kind of get the feel for it, or what does that look like going forward?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is I'd actually stopped for like quite a bit of years there, just because I was so like into, everything that's going on, right? But now things, for the first time ever, I've actually like sort of like, we have such a great internal team now. We have so many great people, and now I have like, I'm starting to realize I actually have a little more like sort of like time slots now of freedom, like in even mental space. So I've actually just recently got like back into like just playing around, just as a little bit of a hobby, right? But it's just like, it's a different vibe, you know what I mean? It's something that just makes you feel good. It's a little bit different, obviously, than what's going on here, but everyone seems to like sort of like, either laugh or chuckle or just like even like feel good, right? So it's like, I've been even doing it at the gym. We set it up there. It's just like, it's just something to change it up and just change the vibe of things, right? So yeah, we'll see where it leads. I have like this like feeling that I want to like maybe like host like some parties, just like in the fitness, like whether it's within the fitness community, just something that's like, I just feel like, everyone's so work, diet. It would be nice to just have like a nice sort of like healthy, safe environment for people to let loose a little bit. Obviously, some alcohol involved or whatever it is. But yeah, it's just like maybe balanced lifestyle is nice,
I love that, man. The person that's coming to my mind who he's been on the podcast is Antoine. I could just see Antoine being the life of that party, right, man?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's definitely like, he's a character. He's awesome. He's next level. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. He's just got such a great personality, great attitude, and amazing person.
Absolutely, man. No, he came on the podcast. Quentin's been on the podcast. Cody's been on the podcast, man.
Awesome.
Like you guys have, it's just, it's meant to be, man, because like to find those type of people to come together, like with one purpose as adults, like, I mean, to find one or two of those people, it's hard, right? But that to have, like you said, this whole team, it's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's yeah, it's, you can't even really put into words. Sometimes I'll just look around and like see what's going on with like everyone that's like just sort of like, migrating here, it's pretty special. Like it's, yeah, it's hard to put, words into it because it's a feeling, but this is once in a lifetime type thing for sure. And there's continuously more people sort of like coming here too. You know what I mean? It's like, it started with the core group, it was like myself and Dorian and Cody, and then like, Antoine came around, and then Quentin came around, and then Frank came back home, and then Van Wyck comes around, and like Robin Strand's here now, and then Mike, an old like Mike Aceto, who's just like an absolute legend. It's just like more people, and there's people moving from different areas, like Valerie Rattel, she's moved here from Quebec. She's a competitive athlete. Dorian Coaster, she just got her pro card. So there's like people coming from like everywhere, and there's opportunity here. It's like everyone's got work, and there's they're following their dreams. So it's really special.
Absolutely, man. No, it's really cool to watch just through social media. So let's go back into the formation of HD Muscle. So you get this pre-workout made, you give it to Dorian for his birthday. Pick the story up from there and talk about how things unfolded from that point.
Yeah, so basically, after that, it was like he got the product. He's, oh, this is really cool, right? He's like, but like, we can, if we're gonna do this, we could probably make it better, because that's the way he is. Like everything needs to be like, he's got OCD with that. Everything needs to be like at the top. It's got to be 99% or more, right? So we're like, okay, cool. But that was like the sort of like got the engine going, right? And so it was me, Dorian, Antoine was around there because he had been, coming into town more, and he was like staying with us and training. And I think Dorian was actually getting him ready to come back finally, and he was prepping for the Toronto show. So that was like, and we were doing some, going to manufacturers. But it was just like, because we were so like, we didn't have any guidance with this, and everything's hard at the beginning, right? Like, it's not easy, right? So you're spinning wheels, you're spending money, and it's not going anywhere, and you're trying this, you're trying that. So it was just like, we're like, holy smokes, this is really difficult, So around that same time, we were also, the talks of the gym was going on, right? So around the same time that we're doing this, we're all training over at the local gym here in Burlington, and we start like looking at a couple locations in Burlington to open up like a decent sized gym, but then we had this plan to like, open the gym, but also have like a warehouse in the back. So it was like, we can have the supplements and the gym all in one type thing. So we looked around. We found the third place we looked at, which is the place we're in right now. We're like, okay, this is perfect. This was 2018. I believe it was, man, oh my gosh. I always lose track of the time here. It was like, I think it was like December 2018 that we found this place, signed the lease. Oh man, yeah, I believe that was what. So 2019, we go into this gym here and we start doing the work. So, we get on social media there. We're like, oh, we're opening up a gym, like super exciting. We got Cody's here, Dorian's here, Antoine's here, Frank's here, Quentin here. We're trying to do the social media thing, like, hyping it up, and we were supposed to open up around April of 2019. We were still going to be doing like the warehouse part of the back, but we just got to the point where, Dorian was going crazy with wanting equipment. He wanted this, wanted that. So we were like, hey, you know what? Let's just put the supplements on hold. And instead of like, doing 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of warehouse space, we'll just make the whole place a gym. So we were scheduled to open up 2019, January, March, April. We were pretty much ready, like, soft opening, ready, not 100%, but open to the public. And we had some setbacks with like, zoning and certain things that we didn't fully understand. Again, we're all learning as we go, right? So we're like, holy smokes. So we're not legally allowed to open. But what we ended up doing was just had like a sort of close circle of, 20, 30, 40 people starting to come in here, and it started getting this like rep of like, oh man, there's like, because I talked to people afterwards that were like, from surrounding areas, and they're like, oh yeah, this, like, we heard about this gym, and like, it's like you had to go through a back door, it was like only pros are allowed to go, it's very underground, so it had this like sort of like reputation or persona, and people were talking about it, right? But you couldn't go to it. So it was almost like it worked in our benefit to be like, it was like a place that like, oh, I want to go, but I can't. That's the vibe I was getting from like outside people. I didn't experience that, but that's what people were saying, right? So that was pretty cool. So basically the summer we were able to open, and then things started flooding. It was very, very successful. Like, we were getting people from out of town. Finally, the doors were open for people to start coming, and it really just hit off. So around that time, the summertime, we ended up linking up with someone, a friend of a friend, that was able to sort of like, that was dealt with supplements and knew the whole logistics side of it and the admin side of it. So this person was able to get us going with manufacturing products. So, and he was able to, he was very, very helpful. He was definitely the guy who sort of like helped us get going, because like I said before, we were spinning our wheels. So when the gym was starting to really get bumping, we circled back to the supplements and started working on the supplements. We were originally planning to have the supplements launch for like the end of 2019. So that didn't happen. Obviously, there's always delays. So then that leads to 2020. Yeah. So basically 2020 happens. We didn't have any idea how we were going to launch this brand. We had, I believe there was like 6 products. It was me and my brother. We're bodybuilders. Obviously, we have some entrepreneurial, like, skill set, but like, how do we market and brand and get the word out there? So the crazy thing is, my sister Mariah, she's the smart one in the family. No, she's like she went to university. She's very studious, very, very good grades. She's into art, like lots of photography, art, just like the creative one in the family.
She does she's the mind behind Big 3 Media, right?
Yeah, well, Big 3 Media is Alora. Alora is does all the video and photography, but Mariah is, I would say, more like the branding part of it. So like the direction of everything. She's also does a lot of photography as well. So she works with Alora, and she works with Kyle, who's our designer. And also we have a couple other photographers as well. But yeah, so Big 3 Media is Alora. So she does all the YouTube video and photography for the most part. But so Mariah was like actually doing some work for like a couple other Instagrams, like with helping like the design of their platform and stuff like that. And my brother's like, hey, we need some help, with like, the image part, like helping with the design and whatever. My sister's like, I have no idea about, bodybuilding and fitness. She comes from an art and fashion background, editorial stuff, like not like the same. And we wanted to go with a different look than the typical. I don't know why in the supplement industry, like from what I remember, like in the magazines, like in like the late 90s and early 2000s, it always a lot of like tits and ass and jacked muscles. And I'm trying to figure out why that sells protein or health products. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I get it. Like, you're getting the attention, but like, why? Like, hey, look at my tits and ass, and then like, take this vitamin. So, anyways, so we like, obviously, my sister had a different like sort of approach, and so it's pretty cool because we want to sort of make it more of a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, open it up to more like to everyone. You know what I mean? Obviously, competitive, bodybuilders and people in fitness are obviously like the heart and soul of it all, the foundation. But you want to grow the industry. You know what I mean? You want to make the pie as big as possible. So you want to get everyone involved. So my sister, I feel like she's done an absolutely amazing job and really sort of making it a wide range, and being very appealing to anyone and everyone. So she was like, I say this all the time, but she's definitely the cherry on top. Now she's a partner with my brother and I in HD Muscle, and I feel like she's just a great asset to what's going on here. So yeah, we couldn't be here without her.
So then when did you guys actually launch HD Muscle, and then how did that initial launch go?
Yeah, the timing is like crazy. Like it's you could say it's either bad or good. Obviously, I think it's good because we're here and we're successful, out of like this last 2 years, which have been like crazy. But we launched HD Muscle January 27th, 2020, pre-COVID pandemic. So it was interesting because like we got going, and we're off to the races. We were doing a lot of cool sort of like, countdown giveaways, all these things just to sort of spark some interest on Instagram, and then, February, March, the pandemic hits, and then we had to close the gym. And then, so us closing the gym was like obviously a little devastating, but it allowed us to sort of put everything into HD. So it was sort of good timing in that sense. Obviously not good time, capital wise, but it was like, okay, now we can really double down here with HD. And, Dorian and Mariah were like, hey, let's like really like go heavy into the social media. Let's just like tons and tons of content, because everyone now is just like sitting at home doing nothing and sort of bored. So we went super heavy with like tons of content. And we started, getting a lot of like amazing athletes and popular names and big brand names a part of the company. And that sort of, I really feel like just like sparked this whole like, whoa, what's going on type thing, right? Where a lot of other brands that are legendary brands, had to sort of pivot, like because like now, retail stores are closed, so wholesale is a little bit different, or maybe they weren't so like, heavy into social media, so where we came out like firing out the gates with like a almost like a fresh new start in a way, these legendary brands, maybe potential, I mean, they're strong and they're robust, but I feel like we were able to sort of capture a little bit of the market share out the gates there a little bit, right? So it was almost like a blessing.
Very cool. So talk to me then after the pandemic kind of starts, because I know up in Canada, in some areas, you guys, the lockdowns and stuff was pretty intense at different times. Yeah. But once the pandemic stuff kind of subsided and you guys came out on the other side, the gym opens back up. Kind of talk about 2021, talk about this year and how things just continue to progress and grow.
Yeah, so we go through 2020. There's a time in the summer of 2020 that we were able to open back up the gym. And the funny thing is, when we first opened up this part of the gym, I remember seeing like the back of the gym, there was like almost like a wall that had been filled back in. And it got me thinking, like, oh man, that'd be cool one day we were able to blow that wall open and like, take on more space. But that was never an option because the business that was there prior, they were like very successful. There was a kids like playground place, trampoline. So they were packed all the time, right? So I'm like, this guy's not going out of business. Like he's solid, right? But I remember like March when the pandemic hit, I remember him coming out. He's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. March break is my highest revenue month because all the kids are, coming, they have March break and they're whatever playing and stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, that's crazy, man. That's horrible. Yada, yada, yada. So that was like, that got my me thinking a little bit, right? I'm like, wow, okay, this guy might, whatever. July comes around and I go to Dorian. I'm like, I have a feeling this guy is not going to open back up because he's not open. We're open because we're open, but he's not opening. So I'm like, I end up emailing the landlord. I'm like, hey, my brother and I want to expand our business. If there's any space available in your unit here, we love the opportunity to take it over. He's like, funny you should ask. He just went bankrupt. And we're just like, crazy. So that was July, August. We go into the space, which is now the 2.0, the white side of the gym, which is 24,000 square feet, which is double the size of the OG, the black gym. And we go in there, we're just like, oh my, this is like a gift from like God. You know, it was almost like, I felt like it was actually like almost like a gift and a reward for like all the heartaches and headaches that we actually had to go through with the original spot. It was like, hey, listen, you know what, you worked for this. And we're like, this is amazing. It was a gift. It was an absolute gift. So that was the summertime. We're like, yeah, we want to do it. And then we went into another lockdown and we're like, okay. So, but then we circled back to it in 2021. We took over the space. So 2021, we take over the space. We work on it. I'm trying to figure out like where we were with HD. HD was just like every month, it was just like getting better and better and better. We were learning everything. You know, we had great internal team and we had a great athlete team, right? The branding was on point. We had so many great people and they were helping build the brand more and more and more. Yeah, so it's just been a steady incline, which it's been great. It's been amazing, like absolutely amazing. So that's really, really exciting. So basically 2021, now we're into like doing all the renovations for the new space. And then, you know, Dorian had a little twist on things like, hey, let's tell people we're open up new location, right? So a little spin on words or whatever. And the sort of surprise was actually, hey, listen, no, the new space is actually right beside the original space.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah. So that was we were able, and the timing was nice. Like it was like as we're like, you know, doing the renovations, finishing the renovations, things are slowly coming back to life and opening up more and more here. Where basically when we were ready to open, you know, everything's ready to open. Obviously with some restrictions involved, but like it's been good timing in a way. So yeah, so now it's been pretty cool. I'm really excited for I'm optimistic at least for 2022 when things really open. We got a little taste of it actually this past weekend when there was a lot of people from, you know, US and a couple from Europe here, you know, pre and post show. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be dope. Like when like more and more people are coming here, and we want to start hosting people too. We have like the Muscle Mansion, which is like got a couple spaces there that we want to like, it's a comfortable environment for people. It's 5 minutes from the gym that they can stay, you know, and then like do something, you know, maybe stay here 5 days a week and we can like do some posing with them, training with them, just like the whole, like sort of like almost like a little bit of a camp for type thing. Right. So rambling on there, but very optimistic for 2022. I think it's going to be a lot of special things coming out of here.
For sure. 100%. What's kind of like your, for you personally, Noah, you're like your ultimate goal with HD. Is this something that you and Dorian want to build up, and then you see yourselves maybe selling it and making an exit, or are you just kind of going with the flow?
I have a feeling we're going to be in this industry until the day we die. So that's my vibe. Yeah, I think this is like, we're in it here. Like we're so passionate about what we're doing. Yeah, who knows, you know, nothing's ever, you know, set in stone and nothing's, you know, permanent, but I just feel that like, you know, that was just the intro to the book, you know, and chapter 1 is actually just coming up pretty soon here. So, and there's gonna be a lot of chapters.
Absolutely, man. So we'll start wrapping it up here, but I do want to ask you, Noah, just in terms of business, in terms of entrepreneurship, again, because of social media, like it's cool to be an entrepreneur. It's cool to own your own business, and you know, all the people want to do that, seems like now. But there's like you said, man, like I own a gym. I'm in real estate. There's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs.
Oh yeah.
It's not easy at all. So talk about maybe just from the supplement stores up to this point, maybe just 1 or 2 things that you've personally learned through entrepreneurship, through business, that you can maybe share with the listeners, just for us to realize like, hey, like it is kind of cool, but there is a lot of hard times too. Outside of the pandemic stuff, is there something that comes to mind in regards to that?
I think you like have to have a certain, if you want to be like, you know, your own boss and be an entrepreneur, you have to be super, super passionate about what you're doing, where it's like you're not actually really working, you're just living. You know, you're doing the things that you'd love to do, and you're just trying to excel at them, get better at them. So it's like you're not trying to like, you know, make a lot of money, or you're not trying to be famous or any of this kind of stuff. You're just super passionate about what you're doing. I don't feel like I ever am working, but I'm actually always learning something. Like I'm always trying to push the boundaries and learn, elevate. Business, definitely relationships and people is what makes business. You know, yeah, like, you know, yeah, it's relationships. Very, very, very important. Yeah.
Very valuable advice. So you mentioned Toronto last weekend, and it seems like from the outside looking in, you guys have a passion and a heart to serve people, to help people, to give back to the bodybuilding and fitness community, which I think that's super honorable. So talk to me about this last weekend, because I think you guys were kind of like the main sponsors. Talk about your guys' heart to give back to fitness, to give back to bodybuilding, you know, to sponsor shows, and just kind of your guys' aim with that.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely going to be continuing to do that. I really want to level up as much as just keep evolving the, you know, the shows, the sport, the community. So I think we're going to have a big impact over the years to come, and just keep on pushing and try to come up with new ideas or innovative ideas to like just expand and grow the actual industry. Yeah, so definitely looking forward to that. We have a lot of like interesting and cool ideas that we've been actually talking about too, that for the Toronto show, which is going to be actually in June in 2022, we have some ideas that we want to do that will just sort of like elevate some things there too, and just like, you know, broaden things a little bit. So yeah, we'll wait till that sort of happens, but I'm excited for that. But yeah, we'll be doing this for forever.
So outside of the business and the training and everything that you've got going on, there's, like you said, you're always trying to elevate, you're always pushing forward. What do you do to kind of keep yourself grounded and kind of refresh yourself, Noah?
It's a good question. I think like I feel like my family probably keeps me pretty grounded. You know, my parents are really involved in the gym. So my dad's here just always, you know, doing this, doing that. Both my parents are very supportive. So my mom's always here. I feel like my mom and dad are almost like mom and dad for a lot of people here. You know, so I think what keeps me grounded is actually my family, you know, my brother, my sister, my mom and dad, you know, and just having them all sort of like in this community, in this workspace, you know, in this social space. So I would feel like that would definitely be it. You know, obviously I love to travel. So that's a nice sort of like, you know, my vacation time or whatever, but family definitely keeps me grounded.
All right, man. So we're going to end it with just a couple of fun questions. Okay. So the first one is, currently, from your opinion, your perspective, who is the best Canadian bodybuilder in the IFBB?
Wow. Currently. Oh man.
I know you've got most of them are all your friends. So
oh
it's
man,
kind of tough, isn't it?
Oh man, who do I? They're all so good. It's really hard to like, you know what I mean? Because it's like there's percentage is different, you know. But to say like, oh my gosh, that's really hard.
I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I?
Yeah. To be honest with you, like the person I think who has the most potential to be like Mr. Olympia, like Canada's first Mr. Olympia, open bodybuilding, is Quinton.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, every time I see him post something on Instagram in terms of like a physique update, I'm just like, dude, this is like, it's from another world, man.
Yeah. If he can put it all together, he's next level, you know?
For sure. And that's ironic, because I asked Cody kind of something similar. I asked him, I said, who is the freakiest bodybuilder that you've seen in pure muscle? You know, whether that's somebody that trains there on a regular basis or somebody that's visited. and he said Quentin. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
that's cool.
Nice.
All right. So best all-time bodybuilder out of Canada from your perspective.
Wow, man. I'm gonna have to go with Mike Asidu, my training partner right now.
Cool.
Look him up.
No, I will. No, I will.
Yeah.
I wrote down his name earlier when you brought him up. So I would love to reach out to him and bring him on the podcast if that's a possibility.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Nice.
Sweet, man. Cool. All right. So Noah, let's wrap it up there. We've been going for almost an hour. I want to be respectful of your time. Before I close this out, if you have any final thoughts or any final words that you kind of want to share with us, go ahead. And then any shout outs, anything in terms of directing people to your social media, HD, anything like that, the platform is yours.
I would just say, thank you to everyone that's, been supportive with HD Muscle, obviously Pure Muscle, the gym, and the whole community. We've been very blessed and fortunate, and we appreciate everyone, being a part of this. What makes this all happen are the people, and then everyone believing in the same thing, so it's been, us like being passionate about what we're doing and maybe just, steering the ship a little bit. The only way this grows and evolves is everyone being excited about what's going on and wanting to be a part of it. So very blessed and appreciative of that.
Very cool. So if anybody wants to learn more about HD, if somebody wants to connect with you, where can the listeners find you guys?
So obviously we have hdmuscle.com, but I believe our hashtag for Instagram for HD is hd.muscle. And then mine is actually @_Noah_Balboa. So like Rocky Balboa.
Perfect, man. So Noah, I appreciate your time, man. I love what you guys are doing up there. I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Those of you listening to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you to you, because if it wasn't for you, the podcast wouldn't exist. Just quickly, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go to Behind the Muscle YouTube. If you're not on there right now, listening to this or watching, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and then go ahead, please leave a comment. I love getting your guys' feedback. I love getting those comments. Just share maybe one of the takeaways from my conversation today with Noah, something from his story that you guys really enjoyed or found great value in. And then also, please take this episode, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Noah, tag HD Muscle, and make sure you tag Behind the Muscle. That's just a great way for more people to find the podcast. More people are going to listen, and more people are going to be positively impacted through Noah's story and the other stories that are being shared on Behind the Muscle. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.